Coach, All-Star Game voting just started today. Is there a player or two that you'd like to advocate for the fans or media to give a little bit of extra boost to?
No, I don't need that. My players' performances speak for themselves. If they don't know quality, then maybe they shouldn't be voting.
Would you be happy if 4, 5, 6 Sounders made it?
No.
To that All-Star
No,
game?
we don't have enough players. No. Yeah, you guys vote for everybody else.
Is the attitude? I mean, how do you balance that though? The desire for your players to be recognized, but also balancing against the very real thing that you don't have the most players here and you lose a couple.
Jeremiah, what I would say is that locker room, the locker room's the best, since I've taken over, have put individual goals secondary to the team goals. And so every single player in our locker room, Dave, thinks about, okay, it'd be a nice feather in their cap, and they're proud of their accomplishments as an individual. But all of them, from the Raouls, the Nikos, the Dempseys, the Chad Marshalls, the Steph Fra, they all want the team to be more successful than themselves individually. And that is kudos to the culture of this club.
Speaking of guys who are out, Alex rolled on in his debut with El Salvador. What do you think of his performance in the game-winning goal?
Well, he came on late because he played heavy minutes for us, but then he scored the goal. So I'm assuming he's starting today. Do you know that? You know everything down there.
I've heard he might.
I'm assuming he's going to start, and I'm going to watch the game.
Do you know if he's playing? Like, I know he played as a central midfielder in that game. Do you know what the plan is?
I don't know, Jeremiah. I just think that he probably deserves to play in that squad. I mean, talking about old Sounders and doing well, Zavaleta did well. I mean, I watched some of the highlights. I mean, he's fired up for it, so kudos to those guys.
Did some good camera work on Alex's dance, too.
Yeah, I mean, the kid's had a good year.
It's Alex's performance and your appreciation of it is no different than anybody else going off as far as international duty, or is there a special thing because of it being his first experience?
No, I don't think the first or last or second or 10th matters. Again, Jada, we're very proud of the team that we've assembled. Over the years, we've had as many as 11 internationals. I think that was a couple years ago. We had like 11 gone. It's getting a little smaller, the list is smaller, but we still have very good players on this team, on this franchise. And that's good for us as coaches.
I'm imagining trying different things since definitely going to be without Alex and Christian. They do a lot of the unsung hero type of work. Where do you see guys maybe in training as far as those plans go?
Plans are going to be the same. We'll still have the same formation. We'll just plug another guy in there, and we'll make do.
How's the team health-wise? Nuhu, Shane?
Good. You saw Shane out here. Nuhu was in his own protocol to try and get him ready for Minnesota. Shane was out here just doing rehab work. He won't make it. At this stage, if you don't see a player on the team, it's out here practicing. It's probably just because we cannot be reckless. We have to be very careful. If they need a pro day, I'm going to give them a pro day.
Thinking ahead of Minnesota and some of the challenges they might present, obviously, you got to travel to Minnesota. Kind of what is your thoughts on all of it?
He's got 2 new players that have seemed to spark his turnaround. Adrian's a very good coach. He's got a good team. I know.
Shane's injury happened. Shane O'Neill, when did his injury happen?
It was a kind of a building type of injury. So then they did an MRI because he was feeling some pain, and then that's when we found out the extent and nature of the injury.
And it's the hip flexion.
Yeah.
And then as far as his look, just in listening to the radio, you were a little bit more detailed. So he's definitely out for a while, or as far as shake goes versus new?
Well, I think what I said on the radio was that he reminds me of Zach Scott. He could probably play now if I asked him to. He could play through some injuries, but it's probably safer for him just to get this healed up and go again. So ask me that question after the next 3 games, we might have to bring him back early. You never know.
Coach, one of the advantages, I guess, of all these injuries is you get to have a mixed squad game with much more participation of the youngsters from Defiance. What do you like to see from them today? Did any of those Tacoma guys kind of stand out to you in today's kind of
Dave, I would bring it even one step lower. We've had the best of the 17s out here as well. Last week and then throughout this week. So it's all the Defiance guys that are, deserving of a look, but it's also some of the top 17s. So for me, it's just, did they bring the level of training down? That's the measuring stick. The kids are so excited to be here. They work hard. I don't have to ask them to work hard. It just comes naturally. But are they able to stay with the speed of the game, the speed of the thinking? That's the kind of measuring stick. And today, you guys saw the competitiveness of the little 5v5 games, and they were good. They were good.
Those look to be mixed squads of all levels.
It was all. Jimmy Terrari always makes it teams, and they were very good teams today. The refereeing was poor. That's why some of the games got a little animated, because the refs sometimes, make a bad call and it gets everybody fired up. But it was a competitive day. I was very happy with training today.
Looked like Jackson Regan was one of the guys out
Yeah.
there. What's his status?
Jackson is a great kid. Didn't make it at Chicago. I brought him out last week to train with the first team. Happy to have him back. He's one of ours. And I know you guys are talking about Defiance and center backs and all of that, but does he fit there? Who knows? I mean, he's got to earn that. But he's a great kid, good size, good frame. The surprising thing with Jackson is that he's really good with his feet. I don't know if you saw some of the stuff that he was doing in the small-sided games. Normally, Chad Marshall hated those little small-sided games. He hated them. Jackson was pretty good today. So.
That's kind of the expectation of a modern center back. So you expect.
No. I expect them to defend first, win their aerial duels, directional heading, and then maybe find a pass.
With him and the AD down there, how helpful is it to have a former center back as the head coach of Defiance? Working with those
Wade's
guys.
great. Wade has been great. Not only is he a good center back in his day, but he's also an educator. He's taught for a living. So you're combining the best of 2 important parts of being a good head coach.
You want to see the show Ted Lasso?
I have started to watch it. Yes, I have.
Okay, what do you think so far?
It's funny. The writing is very good.
What about the game action?
Yeah.
I'm always curious if they. Yeah, no.
That's kind of staged. Yeah. It's kind of like, what was that movie back in the day with Pelé, and they're in the prison camp and Victory? I mean, it's kind of like that.
Yeah. I asked though, just because of Arlo, why did you have?
Did a cameo? Yeah, sure.
Do you have much history with him to comment, I guess, on him and broadcast or his days with the Sounders?
Well, he's a very, very talented commentator. I mean, he doesn't get to where he is at in his career without being very, very good. I mean, he's one of the lead guys in our sport. So we enjoy watching Arlo. Listening to Arlo, I mean.
I was good, yeah.
Listening to him.
You mentioned some of the new players, or Fagapane playing on the left side. How much time have you spent kind of going over how different this Minnesota team might have tackled?
We only watched the last 5 games when those 2 arrived. Normally Jorge does like 7 games. I mean, he works a lot, but we're sticking with the 5 games that they've played.
A couple of years ago, maybe he was playing in the South League too. What have you made of his progress since he joined the organization? Since he stepped into it?
Well, very good. I mean, you guys have heard me say this. I think you asked him the question. He went to Defiance, did well there. I mean, you noticed him, but was he at our level? Hard to say. A couple, 6 games, 7 games last year, something like that. And then he came into preseason, Joseph, and that's when we got really a close look at him. And yeah, we were worried about his physical conditioning on the turn, playing against a guy like Raul. Okay, he still struggles with some of that, but he made the team because he was driving Will nuts. I I mean, Will and him would have these epic battles in these training games, and it was like AB didn't back down. Will started to get frustrated at points because AB was tight on him, and it was like, oh, okay, so that guy can. Will's a prolific MLS scorer. So then when we eventually signed him, you know, he didn't start right away, but that's fine. That's like any normal, you know, path for young kids. But then the impressive part is when he had to step in for Nuhu, you know, my expectations were, you know, here, but he exceeded the expectations. And that's all credit to him and Jimmy and the work that he's done on the training field.
What's the philosophy of going into Leagues Cup? I know it's a few weeks away still, but...
We're going to put our best team out there. It's Tigres. We're putting our best team out there.
How much of the friendly against Austin did you happen to check out?
I didn't. I'll watch it. I'll worry about Tigres later.
With
With
a
AB,
player like Nuhu, he had to work hard to break into the lineup, and then obviously this new position this season worked for him. When you have a player though like AB come in and play well at that position, does that reignite Nuhu, or is there, you know?
Well, we'll see when Nuhu comes back.
Yeah.
We'll see.
So it hasn't been a challenge for him to see somebody else play well.
You'd have to ask
randomly
Nuhu that
in
question.
spot.
You'd have to ask Nuhu that question.
Okay.
With AB, is he one of those guys that you'd consider to take a penalty if you were in those circumstances?
You mean in the European Cup final, Dave?
You might wind up in shootouts at some point.
Look, the only thing I can say about shootouts is in 2016 in the final, I had a veteran team. No 19-year-old taking a fifth kick. It was Nico Ladero taking a fifth, and Roman, who wanted to be in the first five. Coach, I'd take the penalty. He was number 6, and then Christian, I believe, was going to be number 7. I had a pretty veteran group. AB certainly has shown his talent for PKs, so let's just see.
Over the next 5 weeks, you've got about 10 games, give or take. I know it's typically one game at a time, but do you kind of look at this block of games, given that you've got a lot of road games, as kind of a barometer as to where the season could go? How do you kind of look at this kind of set of games?
We're not. We're just trying to field healthy squads for each game. That's what we're focused on. We're not focused on the results, if that's what your question was.
Just kind of managing a lot of games in this short, relatively short.
Well, yeah, we're managing the games in the sense of how do we put the best team out there to win each game. But I'm not looking at this group, okay, we're going to lose 6 out of 8, 6 out of 10. No, we don't have that attitude. We're just going to go through each one, and the second 3-game week is worse. Dallas, Columbus, Portland. I mean, that's a tough week.